Hey there, it's author and attorney Kelly O'Connell with Knockout Radio, and got a show today, of course, about Afghanistan and Biden, but I really appreciate you tuning in to hang out with me. I've got a premise that I think you'll enjoy, and it is the idea that it just occurred to me, maybe occurred to you already. There's too many mistakes in the Afghanistan evacuation. Too many things were done that any one of them on their own would guarantee a failure, and all of them together guarantee disaster. So this article going up tomorrow on Canada Free Press, and the name of the article, Confused Biden Brainwashed to Destroy U.S. Global Reputation with Afghanistan. Now, at the same time that this is going on, Biden's Department of Justice is suing governors, states in America to force children to wear masks, which is insane because you've got about 2 million illegals coming into the country this year, and there's certainly going to be hundreds of thousands of cases of COVID that these people have. Let's just say there's 500, 600,000 cases. How many people will catch that? Well, they say that each person who has COVID will pass it on to between 1.5 to about 3.5 people. But remember, we're dealing with a new COVID now, and it's the Delta variety. It's much more communicable. So what if it's instead of 2 to 4, what if it's 5 to 10? So you could have 5 million people who catch COVID, and then they're going to pass it on to other people, and you're going to have probably tens of thousands of people who die from this. And this is because Biden's not following his own rule. Illegals being brought across the border, not tested, and then sent across the country now. Just crazy, the kind of things that they're doing. And there's so many surreal and nonsensical and obviously bad things that are happening. It has to be on purpose. So the title of the article, Afghan Disaster, Purposeful Choice by Far Left Dems to Destroy U.S. Global Standing. And if I just said that, I do apologize. And then Biden's 11 Afghan disasters so far. So, none of this happens by accident, because think about this. Even though you've got buffoons running the whole show, underneath all of these buffoons are aides who've been in the military. They've been in the government for their whole careers, a lot of them, and they know how to find good policy. So these people below are going to remind these idiots, this Milley and Austin and these other people that are helping Joe. So the disaster that is the Afghanistan exit is so defective in so many profound and different ways, it has to be purposefully built to try and destroy America's standing in the world. Now, why do I say this? Because leftism attacks a country to weaken it so that it can take over the government, it can take over the economy, it can take over the military, and that's what's happening right now. The military is woke. The corporations are woke. Joe Biden is quadruple woke, except he's out of his mind, so who knows what he really believes. Now, nobody could make so many mistakes at that level and have it all be an accident. We know the leftist Biden admin has already done everything it can to sabotage America through constricting oil production, opening up the border, screwing up our foreign relationships, and a lot more that you're probably screaming at me right now for me to include tax, wild taxation, wild spending that's causing inflation. All of this is, if you're a leftist, it doesn't mean you can't see the world. You see it through like a funhouse mirror. You see a distorted view of the world. But you do know that if you tax the daylights out of stuff, if you deficit spend, it's going to cause inflation. And that's what's happening right now. So all of this is building to try to take down America. They hate America because it's, in some sense, a biblical nation. tries to help people across the globe. Even though we could be the world's biggest tyrant, we try to help other countries. Like we were trying to help Afghanistan. So by creating such a gigantic avoidable disaster, we're communicating to the world that we can't be trusted. So destroying America's reputation. This puts all of our relationships at risk and works to end all of our strategic bases around the world. The South Koreans are already saying, we want you to leave. Joe Biden must be removed, and there must be a congressional investigation into all of this. John von Neumann calls this type of event a crisis of crises. It's such a complete repudiation of American standards. We know it was not ordered by the U.S. military and leadership on purpose. For so many different things were either abandoned or miscalculated that we know this had to have happened by design to further destroy the U.S. Consider the following 11 examples, each alone ensuring failure, while the whole guaranteed unparalleled disaster. And, all right, so number one, Biden changed the rules for handover. There was an agreement with Trump. You've heard about this. This has been used by various people to blame this on Trump. But the agreement, and this is from the Hindu Times or whatever, I found it on Hindu Business Line, that the Trump Taliban agreement actually had an escape clause. The U.S. could have withdrawn from the accord if Afghan peace talks failed, which they did, but Biden chose to stay in it, although he delayed and completely pulled out only in September. He wants to do it on 9/11 instead of going from May. So the whole thing's screwed up, and it's all Biden. Biden did not inform our allies. The British are furious. They went to Parliament and they passed a resolution to criticize this. We didn't inform NATO. And I'll tell you, after this happened, after there was this disaster with trying to get out and the Taliban showed up, we didn't call NATO because Biden went home on vacation. It just shows you how sick he is, that he has to rest all the time. And we didn't, when the base commander was leaving, he didn't tell the new commander that the base was shutting down, that the Bagram was shutting down. So military leaves first and left U.S. civilians behind. That's probably the craziest part of this. You can't say that you're trying to do the right thing by pulling out the military without helping the civilians get out. There's 40,000 American civilians there, and probably 40 to 80,000 allies that have helped us. Now, they're all at risk at being killed by the Taliban, and we now have reports that around the airport, Americans are being beaten and having their papers stripped away. So, if you wanted to cause killing and disaster, suffering, a hostage situation, that's what you do. Nobody, even a high school kid would know better than that. Now, the Army left in the middle of the night. It's reported that they left and didn't tell anybody, so the Taliban the Afghan military was shocked. We also left behind $38 billion in U.S. arms. High-tech, very advanced weaponry. By not destroying it, this means that Biden wanted the Taliban to have U.S. weapon systems to fight the West. Why? Because he wants more war. Because he wants to bring down America's standing. We also failed to bomb U.S. Air Force bases, so the Taliban will now use them for war. We've put $1 trillion into this place, and the Taliban is the only one that's really benefiting. These weapons were abandoned to Taliban, and they included biometric data being abandoned. So get this. The Taliban shows up, and they find biometric information that was taken on 80% of the population, which you have to assume includes every single worker, every single translator, every single person who worked for the military, every single soldier for the Afghan military. So the biometric data means they can absolutely identify every person. It's like having a computer where you have to put your finger on the pad and it won't open up unless it's your fingerprint. Or a fingerprint of your eye. Now the Taliban are going door to door to find these Afghan U.S. helpers, and they're hanging them. All right, so I mentioned Bagram Air Force Base was abandoned. If we wanted to be successful leaving, we would have had to have a military base that we could totally control, and we don't. We have to go downtown where this main airport is, and it's a total disaster. There was no reason to shut this thing down. Now, we've got a deal made with the Taliban for American safety because we took out all the military, we left, and now everybody's left behind, and they're just having to deal with the Taliban, who are just crazy people. And the Taliban is beating and robbing Americans outside the Kabul airport, but they're going across the city and harassing women. They're attacking, they're raping, they're murdering people, and Biden is okay with that because there was going to be chaos anyway. Now, consider this. The Americans came in, and with our advanced society, we trained the Afghan women to be feminists, right? Now, feminism ultimately comes out of a letter that was written by the philosopher John Locke, a letter on toleration that's taken right out of the Bible. So there's a biblical foundation to the equality between men and women, which I'm sure you've never heard of before because they never tell you the roots of this stuff if it's biblical. Now, Joe Biden claims to be woke, he cares about women and feminists, but by training them and then abandoning these ladies, he's guaranteeing their rape, slavery, beatings, and murder. Thanks a lot, Joe. And all these girls now all these ladies are going to be frustrated living there. Now, the worst mistake was to take mentally addled Biden. He's clearly not fit. His mind is not sound. He forgets stuff. He gets angry and irritated. He can't take his time to make decisions because his mind is spent. That's who we made the decision maker. The Democrats were so freaking ambitious and jealous of power. They used Biden because he was really the only person they had to get him in there. He's been incompetent since before he got in there. And they used him like a puppet. They used him like a one of those little puppets that you throw your voice into, and so they give him false facts, and we know what they're giving him false facts because when he goes on TV or gives a speech, he's repeating false information, like such as there's no difficulty in getting Americans to the Kabul airport. Well, the airport has got mobs around it and Taliban controlling it from the outside. And so we are not able to just drive up and get people in there. But Joe doesn't know that. He doesn't know a lot of things, so his aides have to go around and clean everything up. But he's lost the liberal media. CNN is going after him. MSNBC is going after him. ABC is going after him because he's too bad. And they know they've made a decision he can't be saved. So they have now brainwashed him to make all these decisions and stand up like a complete mannequin, a complete bozo, and just repeat the stuff that he's got on the screen. He can't even remember who he is anymore. He's kept in the dark. He's taken out for vacation when he's not giving speeches. But he gives these speeches, and it's so illogical. He makes these statements that he looks crazy, and he is crazy. So here's a conclusion. It's easy to see that all these crazy mistakes could have never happened by accident. Maybe some of them, but not leaving the Taliban all these weapons. Nobody makes that mistake by accident. And nobody leaves their people behind when they're evacuating themselves, their military. Nobody makes that mistake. And those two mistakes alone have caused an incredible amount of suffering already. And we've lost face in the world. We look like we're not serious. We don't care about people. We don't care about these Afghanis. We don't care about our own people. Joe acted like they could get home on their own, basically. And we don't care about these. We're supposed to be woke and care about feminists. We're leaving all these feminists to die. So for all these reasons, the purpose for the catastrophically mistaken so-called evacuation of Afghanistan and abandonment of our mission there was to damage America globally so no one would trust us again. And it's already starting to happen. It's the same reason that the border is left open, to pour in a lot of uneducated, illiterate people who will come in and demand at some point to vote without having any sympathy to anything other than Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. And the same reason the oil was shut down, production was shut down in America. So we're not oil independent anymore. And all of these things, by the way, we're told they're woke. They're making us better people. We're fighting against global warming. We're helping the foreigners who are suffering, right? Unless they're Cubans, of course. And so there's always some sort of an excuse that doesn't add up to a hill of beans. It's why COVID was misplayed repeatedly, and now the government runs the markets and tells the businesses whether they can be open or not, or whether you have to wear a mask, even though the masks you see, say the cloth mask, the little rectangle, those stop 1% of the virus. So, all of these mask mandates are crazy. If the government was serious about mask mandates, it would send out the N95 mask to every man, woman, and child. We've spent trillions of dollars on COVID. That would only cost probably a couple of million. Well, let's just say it cost $1 billion. That's nothing compared to what we've wasted. And then everybody would be covered. It's the same reason that we've done all of these things at the same time to ruin our reputation. So Biden was used like a remote-controlled clown to ruin our reputation at home and abroad, so we will eventually be forced into world utopian socialism as our reputation crashes, as our dollar crashes, as our allies stop trusting us. Let's pray that God intervenes and allows us to have a little more time as the world's greatest country instead of a ruined former superpower like the ridiculous USSR. All right, and I do have for you some delightful, tasty, weird news. And here's your weird news. Sad one, a little bit sad. Altamonte Springs, August 13th. Altamonte Springs, Florida. Police in Central Florida, a toddler fatally shot a woman while she was on a work-related video call. And the woman was the mother of the child. He found a loaded gun and opened fire, and it just so happened to hit her in the head. 21-year-old Shamaya Lynn fell backwards and never returned to the call. And, of course, no charges are going to be filed, but it's pretty sad. Now, a Catholic Brazilian bishop exposes himself, and the video goes viral. And so Pope Francis accepted the resignation of Bishop Tome Ferreira da Silva and 60 of Jose de Rio Preto. And he was pleasuring himself in the video. And the bishop has been the subject of removal attempts since 2014. And they did a investigation into him, including on sexual abuse and embezzlement of funds and having a romantic relationship with his driver and sexting with an underage male. And in the picture, he's got a striped shirt on, so he doesn't look like a bishop, but I guess that was a bridge too far. Another one. A man illegally flew a helicopter to a Dairy Queen and earned a charge from the Canadian police. 34-year-old pilot landed by a Dairy Queen and stirred up a lot of dirt and dust and stuff flying around. And it was in the area of schools and aquatic center and more. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police gave him a ticket for it. So anyway, that's your weird news. Now, this has to be a setup in Afghanistan, and so I just encourage you to call your senators, your House members, but demand that Joe get removed and we stop fooling around like this. We are destroying our reputation. It's not funny. Hope you have a good day. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And Kelly O'Connell, Knockout Radio. Ciao. We'll see you tomorrow.